Hey everyone, this is Cameron, the Accessibility Nerd, and today I'm going to be playing with Playwright to test accessibility via keyboard in web content. Playwright is a test automation framework that allows you to script interactions with web content, and some of those interactions include keyboard navigation. Today we'll be testing the infamous W3C's inaccessible homepage. This is their best attempt at the worst accessibility they could think of. It's called City Lights, and it's come up in our previous videos. The first thing I want to do here is really scope the problem. I've got a bunch of stuff on this page, kind of where to start. We could test the focus management up here in the top bar. We could look at the focus management in the menu here. So clicking around, I noticed there's something kind of peculiar about the top navigation tabs. And I think that's related to some annotations that they want to be able to add to the page. I'm going to ignore the top navigation for now and just pick a simpler, presumably a simpler set of controls, which is this sidebar here. And if I inspect the sidebar, I want to know what the accessible name is, an accessible role for one of these elements is, so that I can target it with Playwright and just give myself an entry point into the page. Home here is in fact, let's see, home is an image. Let me refresh this. Home is an image wrapped in a link, and looking at the accessibility properties, it has no name. This is our first accessibility bug that we've identified just without even opening Playwright. In order to run Playwright, we need accessible names and roles on our elements. So I'll show you what that looks like. If I wanted to say get by role link, let's write the code we want to see. Home. So I want a link whose exact name matches home, and we want to be able to focus it. If we run this, currently it's going to fail because there is no link with the accessible name home in this page. It's just an image. That means for screen reader users and dictation users, they have no way of interacting with that component. So back here in the terminal, this is waiting for that focus call to happen. And, oh, interesting. I think I needed an expectation. Oh no, so it timed out. Great, so it timed out after 30 seconds trying to focus the home element because it could not find it. Now we can go back to the HTML itself and let's find that element. What's the name of the image? Here it is. Good Lord. So I'm just cleaning up the formatting a little bit, but this is the link that we care about. It's wrapping an image called nav home. The simplest thing we can do here to get this working, or get us a little further, is to add an alt attribute to the image with the name home, run our tests again, and I'll tell you why this is going to work. I think it's going to work. Yes, it worked. What just happened? I know that giving the image an accessible name will propagate up to the wrapping link. the link, it looks first at its contents and then, well, primarily at its contents for its accessible name. And the contents of this link is the alt attribute content, home. If we look at the inspector for Chrome Developer Tools, we'll see something similar. We inspect the link home, refresh this page. Inspect the link, its accessible name is home. Similarly, the accessible name for the image tag embedded in it is home. There's no duplication here. The link, because it has the interactivity, will just announce once as home. But if you navigated by images in the page, you would hear home for that image. Maybe not the best implementation, but it gets us a little further. So we have our image with an accessible name. I'd like to add an assertion that, where's our test? Our test is here. I'd like to add an assertion that this link is in fact focused. We called focus on it programmatically, but because this is the setup for our tests, I'd like to be super sure that this is in a good state. So name is home, exact true, and we want to expect that this to be focused. So this is a built-in helper in Playwright, built-in expectation helper in Playwright that checks the currently focused element on the page. Let's see what happens. And something's not right. Sure enough, that element is not focused. What's going on? I noticed something earlier, which if you were paying careful attention, you might have seen too, that there is a JavaScript handler on this element called onFocus, which calls blur. This means that as soon as this element receives focus, blur gets called. Blur is a way of throwing focus, of basically eliminating focus on the element. So I think that's a clever way for the W3C maintainers to demonstrate that you shouldn't have a change of context on focus. And also, like, you wouldn't be able to interact with this with keyboard navigation, another accessibility issue. So I'm going to remove that, run our test again, and I expect this to pass. Yes, passes. What else can we do here? This is just the setup, so we know now that we have a starting point to test our keyboard navigation. What would we do next? As a keyboard user, I would probably hit Tab, keyboard, press Tab, and when I do that, I await page. I expect the page to have a newly focused item, get by role. So it should be on the next link, and that link's name should be, we look back at our implementation, it is news. So spoiler alert, this is not going to work because I think all of these links have the same issue as the home link. But we will test drive this and see that that is true. So I expect link with news to be focused when I hit tab. And my guess is that we will see the blur behavior happen again. And yeah, so expecting news locator resolved to not focus. Right. And if we look back at the home implementation, the navnews has the same onFocus blur handler, and it was also missing alt text for the image, which gives the link its accessible name. All right, so I updated the HTML. Let's run this again. And we will see that tab key, oh, wait, keep arrow link, exact true. Okay, so we have two links with the name news. So this is interesting. This is a best practice that we want to address, of not having repeated links with the same name. This is, for navigation, probably acceptable. I think it would be nice to scope this a little more so that we don't have this issue. Basically, it's saying that in this page, there are multiple links with the exact same name and exact same role link. We can resolve this pretty easily by giving this, it's a little weird that it's a table to begin with. Let's see what this does. I'm going to give it the table a role of navigation. I want to check that this doesn't change. It shouldn't change anything visually, because this is a landmark role. It doesn't have any UI visual behavior. What I'd like to do with this landmark role is to say, basically within navigation, click the link instead of just looking at the whole page. What that looks like is we say const navigation equals page.getByRole navigation. And we probably want to give the navigation a name. Navigation R label. Sections, pages, what would we call it? Let's leave it without an accessible name until we can think of a better one. So we have get by role navigation, and then what we want to say is, within that navigation, perform our expectations and our targeting. Page navigation. Run this again, it should pass because we are now scoping the query more tightly to just the navigation. This I would have to dig into more. Adding role navigation to the table overrides the table semantics in a way that might create unexpected behavior if assistive technology users were relying on those table semantics. So look at what this looks like. So table role navigation, I just want to look at the accessibility tree, because what I'm curious about is how this will impact the structure or the semantics of the nested rows. Would actually remove the semantics from those rows? I don't think so. So let's send that down a little bit. click on this. Navigation. Oh, fascinating. Yeah, interesting. So it looks like if those had semantics, which I think they did, um, they got removed by adding role navigation to the parent table. So just to make sure, if I revert that change, yeah, fascinating. Okay, I learned something new today. If you add a role to a layout table, it will remove the semantics of the uh, cells within it. Double sure. Yeah, these are generic now. Cool. Well, that's it for today. I hope you learned something because I did. Uh, and I look forward to joining you on the next Accessibility Nerd event. Thanks.